Welcome to the Market Mystics podcast. I'm Joshua.
I'm Kim. Let's dive in. Josh.
We learn new things about technology all the time.
Every day.
If you're just joining us, we started the recording laughing because we record on Zoom and we're always trying to figure out new ways to do things, and so we're just playing around with some of the settings, and some of them are funny and some of them don't do what you hope they would do.
I know. I had high hopes, but maybe one day we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. But hey, welcome back to the Market Mystics.
Welcome to our life.
This is true. I do legitimately get excited about new efficiencies.
Yeah.
Especially in technology. That's a legit excitement. I'm not faking it. I just wish that one would have actually worked out.
It's true. I do too. If anyone has a solution other than just a stopwatch for having a timer that we can both see without it being on the recording, we'd love that. There probably is something like that. But anyways, we were just trying to find something like that. But yeah, so today we've been talking a little bit about the Olympics, and there's lots of thoughts and opinions from Christianity and from not Christianity on the opening ceremonies and just some of the things that have gone on with the Olympic Games, with controversies with athletes and teams and countries. And I saw a post the other day about, just every day I get on Facebook, there's more and more posts about some type of controversy, and somebody's mad at somebody else. And there's lots of opinions from people on social media, from all sorts of very, very harsh responses from multiple opinion sides, and then people very supportive from multiple opinion sides. And it's just we were talking about how this is just such an interesting kind of moment in life to be in. And what do you do about that?
I feel like that's a really kind way of saying whoa, things are flipped on their head.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it?
It does kind of feel that way. I don't know what I expected from the Olympics this year, and I have been watching a little, which has kind of been fun. But I didn't expect so much controversy. Yeah. And I guess controversy gets views. So there's that. Maybe it was orchestrated in such a way so that people couldn't help but watch because there's controversy surrounding it. But I think more than wanting to watch the Olympics from this, it makes me not want to watch social media.
Yeah. I very much so agree with that.
It's sad, but it's true. I think one of the things that's really gotten me, and we talked a little bit about this a few episodes ago, just kind of how we tend to be wired these days for maybe even extreme love. I don't know, to respond in love. And I think some of it's pretty scriptural, and to see people who are proclaiming the love of Christ and the love of God to react in such unloving ways is such a bummer. And I think that there are situations like these opening ceremonies that put us in positions where we have the opportunity to react or not react.
Mhm.
And I don't know. What do you think about that, Josh? I have more to say, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like where my mind was going with this conversation was like, how are you going to choose to respond or react? Like, what are you going to do with it? Because, um, like the people who I've seen give the best, mm, I don't know if best is right, but most eloquent responses, like, wasn't when it was happening, wasn't the night of it, wasn't the day after. Like, it was people who like took a few moments to process this is what it was, and then sit with this is what I think about that. This is what I believe about that. And I think that for me is like, that's such a big thing. I mean, I know that there's like real common things about, are you reacting, are you responding? But I really think that when society is going through turmoil, when it's upside down, when it's from at least upside down from what you have known it to be,
Sure.
like it's really important to take a moment and like really sit with, okay, that happened, I saw that, I was exposed to that information, and then just take a moment
Mm-hmm.
and just sit with, this is what I believe about that, this is what I think about that. I think that can be so helpful instead of just the initial gut response, but taking that, just that few moments, whatever that looks like, and figuring out really what you believe about it. And then think about like, how do you respond? Or should you respond? I think that's a big one for me, is like thinking about, do I need to actually say something about that? Like, do my Facebook friends need my thoughts on the opening ceremonies? Does, like, and maybe the answer is yes. Maybe you are in a position where like people are asking and you want to know, but are you doing it just to be part of the conversation? Or are you like actually doing it? I think that's such an interesting like dynamic to sit in.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there's, and people have talked about it, but there really is something about choosing to respond versus react. Because I think we can probably all agree that our first reactions are not always the best reactions,
Generally not.
right? Um, I I don't even, I could come up with some scenario in my head to give an example, but I mean, you think about kids drawing on the walls. For me, my first response would not be the best response,
Right.
you know? And knowing that, I know that if something like that happens, I have to be able to take a breath and respond appropriately without reacting.
Mm.
Um, and I think we live in such weird times, but I feel like we're constantly being tested in this. Like, even just as believers, just as little Christs, just as people who are walking around as part of the body, with Christ as the head, like being the representatives in the earth of that, I think we're constantly being tested.
Yeah.
And when I think back to like 20 years ago, the testing looked way different. And it
Yeah.
did. It just did,
Yeah.
right?
It
It
did.
did.
Yeah.
And now it seems so much more in your face, and it is very fast action happening.
Mm-hmm.
But just because something is coming at you fast, does that mean that you have to react quickly?
Mm.
I think that we still hold the power to be able to respond in time, and appropriately, according to what your, I guess, what your relationship with the Lord says you should do. I don't want to come on here and say, oh, this is a good response. Oh, this is a bad response.
Right.
But I suppose I want to urge us all to not react, but respond, and respond according to who we are and who our Father is and how he's taught us to love, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, so, and I don't think that looks like not responding. Like it doesn't have to look like just passivity.
Right.
Because I actually do believe that as Christians, as mature sons, we are called to judge. Like I think, and by judge, I mean rightly categorize. Like that's what a judge does: is looks at a situation and says it's this or it's this. And I do think we are supposed to do that. But to do that righteously. I was just having a conversation with one of my friends. What's up, JT, if you're listening to this? That about, we were talking about a conspiracy theory, and he was like, what do you think about this? And it's like, man, like I got real sucked in and like interested in some of these things for a while. And I found myself in a position where I could no longer be a righteous judge of something like that, because I couldn't see the life and truth in the other side of the argument. And so I needed to pause from that, because I wasn't a righteous judge anymore. I was judging everything based on that polarization. And like, I think it's okay to have a strong opinion about something. It's okay to judge something as I don't want that in my life, or I do want that in my life, or that is righteous and that is unrighteous. Like, I think that's fine. I think that's what we're supposed to do. But you have to be able to be a righteous judge to make that decision. It can't be based on dogmatic religious beliefs. It has to be based on relationship with the one who is the righteous judge, and watching and learning how he judges things, and sit in his court and train and learn and experience and get it wrong sometimes, so that you can actually be the righteous judge, so that you can watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics and say, this is how I judge the situation for me and for my family. Like, how far does your judgeship expand? And like that's different for every person. There's some people out there who your judgeship extends just to your body. There's some people who it might extend to a family. There's some people who it might extend to a community. It's going to be a different answer for everyone, but the larger that expands to, the more pressure there is for you to be a righteous judge.
This is so true. Okay, my mind just went here, so I'm gonna go there. I was gonna say, I think your judgment can also, or being a righteous judge can also extend to your keyboard. And I think so many times people are fighting for influence that they don't have. And so they want to be the first to bat. They want to be the first to respond, when in reality, it's the first to react. And that doesn't grow influence. That grows, decreditation.
Yeah.
And I think this is an important conversation, because there is a way to do it that is still representing the Father's heart, even when you don't agree with something, even when you are judging it as unrighteous? Can you still carry his heart and the essence of who he is into those things and communicate that well, so that you're not then unintentionally, or maybe intentionally, condemning people to death? Because I don't think that's what we're called to do. Honestly, when I see the Father judging, I don't see him judging to death. I see him judging to life.
Yeah.
And if I do what my Father's doing, then I think that should probably be the majority of what I'm doing. And I could be wrong. Okay, listen, also, I have limited experience. I've been on a journey for a while, but in the expanse of eternity, it is so tiny.
Yeah.
And so I could be so wrong on some of this, but I just truly, I hate to see the continued division that is happening because we refuse to take a moment to be able to respond in love, and instead first respond in something that is divisive.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was just telling Josh this. I know someone on social media who was talking about the opening ceremonies and really throwing around the word hate like it's righteous. And it really made me want to like react. And so I went to respond and I was like, wait, this isn't the greatest either. You know what? I really should go like find out, what does this word even mean? What does hate even mean? I know what it means in the English language, but when it's in scripture, and it is in scripture and English translations, the word hate and God hates XYZ, I chose to then back up and go do a little word study and look at the original Hebrew and where did that word that was translated to hate, where did it actually come from? And it's interesting because it comes from something that isn't such an emotional reaction to something. Like it's not a strong emotion towards something, but it is it's essentially like an avoidance of hurt and avoiding something because it has hurt you. But if you really dig into that a bit more, that's still rooted in love, because it's hard to get hurt by something or somebody if you're not open to first be loved by it.
Yeah.
You know, or loving it. And it's an interesting thing. And I think we can really flip things on its head, and we can really, we can advance in our own journeys and help to actually unite things if we can just take that time and not do the initial reaction thing and do the thing that actually brings life a bit, you know? And I don't think this is like the perfect way to do it. I'm not going to go and look up the root of every word that pisses me off on social media. Like, let's just be honest. I'm not going to do that. But I think, at least for me, this is a step in the right direction of taking that step back and allowing the testing to happen, because it's going to happen. There's stuff in the world. There are energies and spirits and people who are actively testing us to see, do they actually do what they say they believe?
Yeah.
And I kind of want to be somebody who does what I say I believe. I don't want to be just like some shallow, empty shell that proclaims something but doesn't actually do it. I don't know. I don't want to be that. And I don't actually think that most believers do want to be that.
Yeah. I think authenticity is one of the highest goals you could ever reach for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. I guess I'm saying I'm going to check myself before I try to check somebody else.
Yeah. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
We won't get pulled for that, right?
don't think so.
There's some copyright trademarks in there somewhere.
Nah, we're fine.
I mean, I think you didn't like rap it much, even though it was kind of spoken word.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I think we're good.
oh, that's funny. Well, anyway, I think this is one of those topics that needs to be addressed. And I only say that because we didn't have a topic. And then we both pressed in about it and we're seeking the Lord about it. And he gave us both the same thing. So there must be something on it. Somebody who's listening hopefully needed something from this. Maybe it's us.
Maybe it's us. It's true.
Probably it's us.
Probably. That's awesome. Well, I hope some of you found this this conversation helpful. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on the Olympics. So feel free to share, no matter what your opinion is. We're here to just to have conversations and to really process things. So
agreed. Before we go, Josh, pop quiz.
Yes.
What's your favorite Summer Olympics sport or category or event?
That's a great question. I think watching just gymnastics in general is like a real feat of human ability. It's mind-blowing what the human body is capable of.
Yeah.
So I think that is like something I've always enjoyed watching. But there's lots of great categories.
I would typically say gymnastics, but this year I'm like super excited about the pole vault. I don't even know why. I think it's because my daughter's really into it. And so we watched the trials and now I'm like, oh, this is my girl. Like
that's awesome. I love it. That's really cool. That's not an obscure one, but a less televised one, maybe. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. We tend to have, my daughter and I tend to have this thing about flying. And that's one of those things where people
kind of like flying.
It's kind of like a little bit of a taste of flying. If I had any upper body strength, I'm convinced I would have tried to do it, but I never. I mean, even as a 5-year-old, I couldn't do a pull-up. It just wasn't on the cards for me, you guys. It just wasn't.
Well, that's funny. That's good. All right. Well, let us know what your favorite Olympic event is. We'd love to hear the listeners' opinion on that.
True. Okay. See you guys later.
See ya.
Hey, thanks for listening. Keep up with us along this journey by liking, subscribing, and becoming a member through YouTube.
Members get exclusive access to bonus content with our guests, deeper dives into topics, and a look into other projects. We're glad to have you here. See you next time.